How does one value a business? This is the question I'm going to answer in this video. We will look at how to calculate your business's worth, what are the factors that affect the valuation, and is it all just down to numbers? How does it all then tie into the exit planning process, and could you sell your business for 2 or 3 times your revenue figures? Well, let's see, shall we? In one of the previous videos, you would have heard me talk about how you need to get a proper valuation expert in. That's why I've personally spent years building up a network of professionals that I know I could turn towards and rely on. Those are the specialists in their fields who can help the owner achieve maximum possible value. But how do they actually value your business? There are different methodologies that they could be using, and bear with me because this is where it gets a bit more technical. As you can see, I'm wearing a suit, so things are about to get serious. Valuing a business using the price to earnings or PE ratio is one of the most widely used methods. It's especially suitable for companies with strong profitability as it reflects both consistent earnings and potential for future growth. The appropriate price to earnings ratio can vary, often falling somewhere between 4 and 10, and it's generally calculated by dividing the company's current share price by its earnings per share, giving investors a quick sense of value relative to profits. Once you've determined your price to earnings ratio, valuing your business is straightforward. Just multiply your post-tax profits by the selected ratio. For example, let's say your business generates £750,000 in post-tax profits, and you apply a PE ratio of 6. The business would be valued then at 4.5 million. Alternatively, with post-tax profits of 1.2 million and a PE ratio of 7, the valuation would come out to about 8.4 million. You get the idea. Now, before I go on to another method, I will ask that you keep in mind that while all these methods are used, they don't take into consideration some other factors. So bear with me because those can also seriously affect the value of your business and its final valuation. Now, back to another method. Another way that someone could value your business is by simply looking at its assets, which is why it's called an asset valuation. Usually, that's more applicable to brick and mortar businesses that have some solid tangible assets, for example, machinery, property, and so on. Pricing with asset valuation is very straightforward. Simply calculate your net book value, which is assets that are included in company's accounts, remove any value that is lost over time due to depreciation, and price based on your final figure. Let's say your total assets gave you a net book value of £1 million, for example. But your machinery is relatively dated and has been around for 5 years. That means that that particular asset has dropped in value from £300,000 to £200,000. And so you would remove the loss from your total and achieve a final valuation figure of £900,000. Asset valuation doesn't take into account a lot of other factors, but can be used as a solid basis on which you could build the valuation figure for your business. Many liquidators use that method for when they assess the assets of an insolvent business that gets sold at an auction. The third and last method that I will mention here is a discounted cash flow method. This is a bit more tricky than the previous method, so I won't go into too much detail about it, and it's usually used by larger companies when there are predictable cash flows. So here's a formula for it. I'm also including in the description a link to an article that explains how this method is applied in valuations, so if you'd like a nice light read, it's there for you. So these are some of the methods that an experienced valuer could apply to your business. A lot of people will also tell you that it's as simple as just applying a multiple to your EBITDA, but that's never the full picture. Also, these are just the numbers. Things get a lot more tricky when we start to look at the intangibles that affect the valuation of your business too. As part of the exit planning process, what I always do with clients is assess their intangibles just as much as the tangibles in their business. So what's the difference between the two? Well, most people focus on the tangibles in the businesses, which is sales and EBITDA or net profits. And they are important. We definitely have to start with tangibles. But the intangibles make the real difference to your value multiple. What are the intangibles? Well, the intangibles are what we call in the exit planning process the 4 C's: human capital, customers, structure, and social, which is reputation of your business. This is a very big generalization as well, because in my experience, there are usually tens if not hundreds of factors that can count as intangibles. A good exit planner would normally assess your business's intangibles and determine wherever they score low, or high. We normally use the graph when assessing businesses. This is your business's range of value, and to clarify, this doesn't necessarily mean that these are the multiples some businesses may sell for 10x or 15x, but let's say the multiples correspond directly to these numbers. Most businesses that did not go through the proper exit planning process would fall under the lower end and score 1 or 2. This is why it is so important to decide how long you're giving yourself before actually putting your business up for sale. Take an extra 2 or 3 years to build up the value in your business and address these intangibles could place you in a higher bracket of the graph, so it becomes best in class. Instead of, say, getting 2 million for your business, you could be looking at somewhere around 5 or 6. Probably worth the wait and effort, right? So to recap quickly, your business's valuation is comprised of tangibles, intangibles, and also certain risks. I keep bringing up risks in this video, but anything that is deemed a risk in the business will be counted towards the discount on its value by the buyer. So it is absolutely crucial that when we work on the exit planning strategy, we first and foremost de-risk your business. We identify the value, de-risk it, protect it, and then once that's in place, it is a lot easier for you to harvest the value from your business. I have seen it time and time again where business owners greatly underestimate the fact that their intangibles right now are in a very poor condition. Not only does that affect the value, but it actually completely jeopardizes their efforts to sell the business. Adding a broker or a valuation specialist to your exit planning team is absolutely invaluable long term, but you need more specialists on that team. Make sure to subscribe and click that notification bell, because in the next video, I'm going to tell you what the dream exit planning team looks like. Until next time.